Hello everyone and welcome back to Minecraft. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build this villager themed Easter Island statue. Given that it is Easter weekend, I thought this would be an appropriate build for the next episode of the Building the World series, where I'm trying to build a structure from every single country. Easter Island is technically part of Chile, so it gives us a good chance to tick another country off the list as well. Now, Easter Island, or Rapa Nui to use its local name, is a volcanic island in Polynesia in the Pacific Ocean. It has an area of 163.6 square kilometers and roughly 8,000 people call it home today. Rapa Nui can also refer to the people of Easter Island, so for the sake of simplicity, if I'm referring to the people I will say Rapa Nui, if I'm referring to the island I will say Easter Island. But before we get into the tutorial, I want to go through a little bit of the history of Easter Island and the Moai statues, because I think it is absolutely fascinating. If you want to skip to the tutorial, here is the timestamp. So Easter Island was discovered by Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen on Easter Sunday of 1722. In 1888 it was annexed by Chile. As I mentioned, it is still part of Chile today, and it became a special territory in 2007. It is of course famous for the Moai, the large stone statues built between the years 1250 and 1500 approximately. Across Easter Island there are nearly 900 Moai statues, the majority of which are carved from tuff from the volcano Rano Raraku. The quarry there still contains no less than 394 Moai that either remain in that location or were never completed in the first place. On the other hand, some of the Moai were transported up to 15 kilometers away, and remember, this was over 500 years ago. No roads, cranes or trucks. This was all done using logs and ropes. As for the purpose of the Moai, the Rapa Nui people deified their ancestors like gods, so the Moai would be their living faces, so they could continue to watch over their clan years into the future. And there would also be a link between the size of the Moai and the power it holds. So the taller it is, the more powerful. And you also may notice some of them have headdresses or top knots, or pukao as they are known, which also suggests some further status. What you may not know, however, is that not too long ago, not a single Moai was left standing. In fact, within 150 years of Easter Island's discovery in 1722, every single Moai had fallen. Some of these were due to earthquakes, however. There is at least one tale passed down through oral history of a Moai being pushed down during the night. However, there is little context given in the story. So whether it's due to some link with European contact, tribal wars, or any other reason, it is unknown. However, the fact remains that by the late 1800s, every single Moai was laying face down in the ground. Well, technically I think some of them fell backwards, but you get the point. Of course, today, some of these Moai have been stood back up again and restored to their former glory, most notably at Ahu Tongariki. More on that later. But now seems like a good time to explain what is an Ahu. Well, an Ahu is one of these stone platforms upon which the Moai stand, and the more recent ones are particularly impressive because they are made with perfectly carved giant stone blocks, usually basalt, and these blocks can measure 2 and 3 meters long, weighing tons upon tons, and they're carved and placed to within millimeters of perfection. And these Ahu had to be very strong, because the average Moai could be around 4 meters tall, 1.6 meters wide at the base, but could weigh 12.5 tons, and that's just an average size one. The tallest measures up to almost 10 meters and weighs 82 tons, though there is a heavier one at Ahu Tongariki weighing 86 tons. So to support such weight, the Ahu of course had to be very well built. And when I say tallest, I'm referring to the tallest one ever completed. There has been found an incomplete Moai that would be around 21 meters tall, weighing 145 to 165 tons if it were ever finished. And that size is what now brings us back to Minecraft and the height of the Minecraft Moai that I am building today. So in the background I have been working on the Ahu. It is made from lines of basalt and a random scattering of polished deep slate bricks, cracked deep slate bricks, deep slate tiles and cracked deep slate tiles in a square that is 12 blocks by 10 blocks. And now we'll be building this little ramp at the front. So across the front in a section that is 8 blocks wide, we will just place 2 blocks of cobblestone out, and then we'll just run a line of cobblestone slabs across the top and a line in front as well. You can see what we're doing here, and just creating a little staircase up to the top of the Ahu so we can easily access it to continue work. We will then take a peek in here because we need gravel, we need sea lanterns, and we need cobblestone, and we need smooth or regular stone slabs, I should say. So we're going to start with the gravel, and well, it doesn't have to be gravel, it just needs to be some filler block. We're never going to see any of this, so we're just going to fill in this entire bottom layer with a block we are not going to need for anything else in the future. So gravel's a good one. You always end up with tons of gravel and never have anything to do with it. So yeah, we're just going to fill this all in, and on top we will start to layer in the other blocks. So we'll run a ring of cobblestone all the way around the outside, and once you've done that, we will switch to sea lanterns or any light block you like. We'll place one in each corner. You can do a whole ring if you like, but it's not really necessary. And then we'll just fill in the rest of this area with more filler blocks. Once again, you're never going to see any of this, so gravel will do just fine. We'll just fill this all in, and then we will finally switch to our stone slabs, and we'll just run a ring of these all the way around using our sea lanterns as the corner blocks. We'll place slabs on top of those to hide them, of course, and then that is the Ahu complete. And now would be a very good time to make sure you got the dimensions right. This area inside of the stone slabs should be 4 blocks back and 6 blocks wide. So once you have finished your Ahu, you should be looking something like this. And of course you can change whatever block types and colors you like if you have your own preferences. We'll grab some basalt, and we'll build a pillar 3 blocks high on the 3rd block from the right inside our little rectangle of stone slabs. We'll place 2 more basalt off to the left, facing sideways at the top and bottom of that pillar. Then we'll fill in the rest of this front wall 3 blocks high, like so, with tough blocks. Then we will come around the back and we'll just complete this base layer just with 3 block high walls all the way around. So we'll just end up with a big rectangle inside of our stone slabs. So you'll be looking like this when you are done. The next step is very simple. We're just going to build up this rectangle by 3 tough blocks all the way around, and you don't necessarily need to do the front wall because that will be covered by the arms of the villager anyway, but I'll just fill it in with tough to make it a little easier to follow along. The next step is basically a repeat of the first. We'll just build up 3 blocks with basalt, with 2 pointing out to the left hand side at the top and bottom of our pillar, and then we will just fill in the rest of this front wall with a tough 3 blocks high, and of course we'll be filling in the side and back walls as well to the same height. Now we will grab our basalt once again, and on the front wall, just a block in from each corner, we'll place a block of basalt, and then a tough block on each corner. Then back to basalt, we'll place 1 on top of each of those 2 tough blocks. Then back to tough, we'll fill in this area in the center with tough. Then we'll head around to the back and the sides, and we will build up all of this to the same height, so just another 2 blocks on top of the rest of it. But then for the back wall, we'll just place another line all the way along, and then a shorter line across the top, just a block in from each end. So you should be looking like this. Now it is time to start building the head. We'll start by placing a line of 3 tough blocks just up on the diagonal from the side, and then on the end of those we'll place 3 cobbled deep slate going upwards. So we'll do it again on the opposite side, of course. One temporary one so we can build up on the diagonal, 3 blocks of tough there, then a cobbled deep slate on the end, 2 more on top of that vertically, and then we'll go back to our tough and we'll build basically a C shape on each side next to these vertical columns of cobbled deep slate, and I guess a backwards C on the right hand side. Just 5 tough blocks in this orientation. Then we'll grab some basalt and we'll place them sideways in the opening here in our letter C. So we have 1 on each side like so, and then we'll just connect these tough blocks along the bottom. We will then switch to cobbled deep slate and we'll start to build the villager's nose. So just on these last 2 tough blocks we'll build out by 2 against each of those, and we'll place another 4 cobbled deep slate just under them, and then another 8 on top. So we'll have a 2 by 2 by 4 block of cobbled deep slate, and that will be the villager's nose. It is absolutely massive. Next up we will be building the eyes. We'll start with a block of granite on either side of the villager's nose, a block of calcite on either side of them, and then a tough block on either side of those, and 2 more tough blocks in the middle to connect them. The real life Moai did actually once have eyes before they were toppled over. The white parts were made from coral, and the pupil was made from either obsidian or red scoria, which came from a different volcano on the island. Back to the build though, we'll just bring up the rest of the head to the same height, bringing the back wall in by 1 so we can still see that shape we created a little earlier. So we just need to fill in this top 2 blocks here, so when you are finished you should be looking something like that. And here is the front. Looks a little odd at the moment because he doesn't have the enormous villager forehead that you can see on the other one, but we will get to that now. So we will grab our black stone, and starting just above 1 of our calcite blocks we'll just run a line all the way across to the other, overhanging it to the front. So we'll have a 6 block line of black stone there, cobbled black stone, and then on top of each of those we'll just place 4 tough blocks up vertically. So we'll have a 6 by 4 area of tough blocks on top of our line of black stone, and then we'll just build up the side and back walls to the same height as we have done before. Next we need to fill in this hole that we have in our villager's head, and that will finish off the top of our Moai. All that's left to do now is put the arms on. And this is a little bit tricky to describe, but I'll do my best. We'll grab cobbled deep slate and we'll come to either side, and just in line with the back of our villager's head we'll place a line that is 4 blocks long. Just in from that a line that is 6 blocks long extending downwards. Forward from that we'll place another 6 block long line of cobbled deep slate that is shifted down by 2 blocks. And then we'll extend all of these out by 2 blocks, so they're 3 blocks wide in total if you're looking from the front. Hopefully that was easy enough to understand. If not, perhaps the visuals can do better than my explanation. But anyway, once you have all of that in, you should be looking like this. You can see the kind of diagonal pattern that we have going here. We will now bring the arms across the front, so we're placing basically 6 more lines of cobbled deep slate, just extending out forwards by 2 and then up by 3, so it's a 2 by 3 block of cobbled deep slate going all the way along the full width of our villager's arms. And you'll notice it takes up the full vertical height of that little space we left in the basalt way back at the start of building this, so it'll cover that up. We'll then place an additional 3 cobbled deep slate on each side just to connect our villager's arms up a little bit better, and then that is the villager Moai 100% complete. Not the biggest thing I've built in this series. In fact, this is probably one of the shorter tutorials. But still, I think this is very cool, and I think if you get a whole line of them and have some subtle variations between them, you could end up with something that looks quite cool. I would definitely recommend building more than one of these, and you could actually connect the Ahu, which I may do in a moment, just to see what that looks like. So you just have one long one instead of individual, kind of pedestals that they stand on. So the one issue though that I have at the moment is, of course, at night this thing is not very well lit. It's got those sea lanterns under the stone slabs, which will stop mobs spawning around the base, but there's nothing to stop the mobs spawning on the arms and the nose and the top of the head. So yeah, there's a few spawning spaces that I'm trying to deal with at the moment, and my primary solution right now is campfires and sea lanterns. What you can do is replace the calcite with sea lanterns, and that does look pretty cool at night, lights it up, and that will produce enough light to stop mobs spawning on the nose and the arms, but it won't quite cover the top of the head. So yeah, I'm still working on a solution to that, but that does look slightly creepy, but kind of cool at the same time. For the top of the head, it's a bit of a weird one, but if we place a campfire just on each side, it does have a kind of cool smoke effect. Whether it's what you want is another matter, but I think it does look pretty cool. If you want to, whoops, that's too many campfires, but you can do either two or a line of campfires. There's a few different options. So yeah, there are ways of lighting it up if you want to be a bit more experimental with the design. But anyway, I mentioned earlier that I was going to join the two Ahu together to see what that looks like, and while I work to do that, I'm going to share a story that I heard about Ahu Tongariki. So if you've seen pictures of Easter Island and all the Moai along a big line on one platform, most likely that was a picture of Ahu Tongariki. Ahu Tongariki is the largest Ahu and also holds the most Moai, with 15 standing on top of it, including the heaviest Moai ever erected, weighing 86 tons. This Ahu lies about 1 kilometer away from Rano and the quarry where the Moai were carved, and given their larger than average size, it makes sense that these ones were not transported terribly far compared to some of the other Ahu around the island. Like all the other Moai, the ones at Ahu Tongariki were toppled, as you can see here in this picture from 1914. But that would not be the worst thing to happen to this Ahu and these Moai. In the year 1960, a massive 9.5 magnitude earthquake struck near the Chilean coastline, sending a huge 11-meter tsunami straight towards Easter Island. The Ahu and Moai were swept inland by the colossal wave, the Moai moving over 100 meters each, and remember these are weighing up to and over 80 tons. They lay untouched for over 3 decades until the Japanese government donated $2 million to restore Ahu Tongariki. Work began in 1993, involving architects, engineers, historians, and an official agreement between the Chilean government, the University of Chile, and Japanese crane manufacturer Tadano Limited. The large crane was of course necessary to lift the huge Moai back onto the Ahu once it was finished, proving that even with today's technology, reconstructing this masterpiece was a real challenge. Work on Ahu Tongariki was completed in 1996, and it stands now as one of the most popular tourist destinations on Easter Island, alongside the quarry at Rano. But I think that is going to do for this one. We've joined the two sides of the Ahu together into one long one now, and yeah, I do think that looks a little bit better. So yeah, I would recommend doing that if you're having more than one of these. Just build them along one Ahu. But anyway, you can see I've also got campfires on the one on the right. I've been experimenting with a few different design elements, but of course you can incorporate those and add your own ideas in any way you would like to. But that is going to be it for this one, so I'll say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It's always very helpful, and I'm always looking for ideas what I should do in the future of this Building the World series. But with that said, I will see you next time, and goodbye.